I'm going to pivot in a different direction now because I was thinking about the home opener and Jets' recent openers and home openers. Now, I think they're going to settle in as like 4-point underdogs. Maybe the line gets a little closer because Jet fans pour a lot of money into it, but Pittsburgh's a national team, so maybe that holds off. There's going to be a lot of Steelers fans there. Maybe we'll call it 75-25, something like that, week one. So I'm trying to think, like, when were the Jets an underdog? And then when were they an underdog at home and had like a very positive week one outcome? Because they had this nice stretch where I think they were favorites in 2011 when they beat Dallas at home. I think they were favorites when they kicked the crap out of Buffalo week one, 2012 at home. 2013, they were pretty big underdogs to Tampa with Geno, and they won at home. So that might be one to kind of like think on that could be kind of comparable. 2014, they were favorites against the Raiders and won. 2015, they were favorites against the Browns and won. I think by 2016, they were favorites and lost with Fitzpatrick. Kind of more recent history is the depressing Flacco Lawrence Cager opener when Zach Wilson was hurt and they played the Ravens, and their first third down call of the season was an out route to Lawrence Cager that was, of course, incomplete.
God, I forgot he existed.
Just a horribly depressing game. And then going back a little further, I was like they were underdogs to the Pats in 2007, but they lost. So I'm trying to find some like history corollaries going in. Like the Jets are 3 or 4 point underdogs. Everyone's going to pick Pittsburgh to win that game. I feel like maybe you'll get like 1 or 2 people trying to be different, unlike the ESPN like Chiron.
Right.
But they'll be a popular pick. Rodgers, this is the Jets. He's going to stick it to him. It's Mike Tomlin. It's Aaron Glenn's first game. I think the Jets, it's almost closer to a coin flip, but I'm trying to think on other home openers that you went in with no expectations or limited expectations, and they were a pleasant surprise. Bucks in 2013 comes to mind. And
I think that's the one.
Yeah. The most disgusting one, of course, was 2019 with Gase, or Gase's first game as the Jets head coach when they were up 16.
Yeah, they blew it.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
The Le'Veon Bell 2-point conversion.
What a play. It was like, maybe I was wrong about everything with Adam Gase. They went up like 16-0. I was like, this could be it.
CJ Mosley looked like the greatest linebacker that ever lived the first, 3 quarters.
Little did we know, beat Trevor Siemian for a quarter and then Luke Falk for 3 weeks. So I'm basically, this is a long-winded way of me trying to talk myself into the Jets can steal one week one. Because I just can't. It's nothing to do with Rodgers. I mean, it has something to do with Rodgers. I don't have the extreme Rodgers hate that some understandably do in the fan base. I just can't walk out of that building, man, losing 23-3 to Rodgers.
No.
You just can't. I can't stomach it. First game for Aaron Glenn. He took some shots at him at the press. Like, you got to find a way to win this game. Like, go. Even if on the whole for the season, like Pittsburgh ends up 9-8, Jets end up 8-9. You got to get this one. That's where I'm trying to find my confidence in some history. Is there any other ones I missed, like from the past, like 15, 16 years or so?
Not really. Ironically, the last 20 years, the Jets are 10-10 week one.
Okay.
So this will decide if they're below or above 500. I was trying to think through these because at home, they've been away a lot.
Yeah. Also, first game for a head coach. Like, what does that history look like recently for the Jets?
Right. Yeah. I'm kind of, I feel like, so Rex's first game, they were at Houston when they won comfortably. I'll never forget that game. I was like, what do we have? Something just felt different that game. And then, so Bowles was...
It's when they beat the Browns, I think, with the McCown helicopter.
That's right. The McCown helicopter. They killed the Browns 31-10. You brought up Gase, which was a crushing loss.
Yep.
Such a defeating loss.
Regime ended after that game. One game was done.
Yeah, that was awful.
Saleh lost with Zach to Darnold, right?
Yes, down in Carolina. 14-19.
Ugh. Corey Davis, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, the second half, that's maybe the best Zach Wilson looked for a while.
He peaked in week one.
Yeah, it was like college Zach Wilson for that second half. But yeah, they usually, it's actually really interesting going back and looking at this.
Mangini won his opener. He beat the Titans on the road, I think. Okay.
So besides Bowles, the last 3 coaches, right, Gase lost at home. So it has been an even split, but these guys have typically lost besides Bowles. So It'll be, yeah, I agree with you where it's going to land. I know it's 2.5 right now. The Jets are underdogs, but I think it'll move. I think that you'll get a lot of positive Rodgers coverage in training camp, and that this is finally going to, get the Steelers a little bit over the hump and all that talk. It's actually, no, it opened at 2.5. It is now officially 3 everywhere.
Okay.
So this is going to keep moving. I actually like getting the Steelers week 1 at home from the stadium perspective, because it's insane how packed it gets with Steeler fans when the Jets are not very good. People are going to be excited to go to a 1:00 beautiful weather home opener at MetLife. And there's some juice to this game. Rodgers returning, a new regime. The Jets fan that typically, and I'm not criticizing anyone, it's you do what you want with your tickets, that sells this game, which is a lot of season ticket holders because of the state of the team. They're like, you won't have to deal with that for this. But there'll be a decent amount of Steelers fans because they're just, it's like Cowboy fans. There's a lot of them. They travel well. They're all around. So, yeah.
I'll take a 75-25 is my guess on the split in the crowd. It'll be packed.
The Jet fan will be really loud, though, for this game.
Yeah.
Because of the Rodgers effect.
Yes, on defense especially.
Yeah.
Glenn's definitely deferring if he wins the toss.
The first time Rodgers gets, hit pretty hard, you're going to hear a roar whether the pass is complete or not. It's interesting to me. I think the Jet fan is kind of just sick of his existence at this point. They feel exactly like the Packer fan feels, but the Packer fan, I noticed there's still a lot of that fan base, understandably, that remembers him winning a Super Bowl and being an amazing quarterback. There's also a big part of the fan base that, was really tired of how things went at the end. The Jet fan didn't get the good memories. So they're just sitting there like, really? Okay.
Coming in angry week 1.
Yeah.
One question we're going to answer from the Discord before we jump to War Room was from Johnny Bryant's season, which hasn't happened yet.
No,
it could, maybe. What Jet things are you most excited about for the season, regardless of whether or not it translates to winning games? Because, again, Connor and I are Jet fans first and foremost. Right. We approach this as Jet fans. I act like I'm a 10-year-old when I'm watching Jet games. That's how excited or upset I get during them, to the point where it's.
I found it again. Doing pre and post game. There was a while. The Gase years took a lot out of me. I'm not going to lie.
I almost, as I've said this before, I literally almost stopped all of this because of the Gase years. We kind of stopped doing Turn on the Jets.
Yeah.
And it was so bad, it actually kind of birthed Badlands. So thank you, Adam Gase, because I just couldn't. The way those games were going, I just couldn't do it anymore. I just could not talk about it. And then something else happened. Maybe it was a midlife crisis, and here we are. But yeah, those were sad. The last couple of years, that the expectations and the expected excitement of the season, and the stretch in 2022 that ultimately ended when Michael Carter's pick 6 was called back, was kind of that reminder. They were 5-2. They were 7-4. To see that again and win those games against Miami and Green Bay, I think that also helped bring it back. And last year, it fucking hurt. We really thought they were going to be at least a playoff team. And as fans and as people doing this, and I don't want to say it, in the back of my head, it was probably the Denver game when it set in that I was like, oh man, they're probably an 8-9 team. They're not a 10-7 or 11-6 team. I'm trying to think when it really set in that this year's going to be a complete team. Unmitigated disaster. Yeah. It was probably when they fell. And they almost came back and won, but when they were just getting killed in the London game against Minnesota, and I was like, this isn't even they're not even showing up. And everything from there was firing, and season was over just like that. I'm not answering the question. I'm going down to press down. I'm excited to see a more normal together team. I feel like the Jets were at times very difficult to watch and cheer for last year. And there was a fun joy to the team and the young players in 2022 when it was at its best. That was really enjoyable. And to watch all that just evaporate away the last 2 years was tough. So to see if Glenn, who I think you have to want to root for, he used to play here. We loved watching him growing up. He's excited to be a part of the Jets. To see that hopefully come back and him push that out of the Sauce and the Garrett and the Brees and the Jermaine and the Will McDonald and the Quinnen. That I'm excited about. And I do think that even if they're going to be a 7-10, 8-9 team, they're going to have a couple really fun, surprising wins. I think week 1 will be one of them. I think they'll play with their hair on fire and probably steal a game that maybe ultimately they shouldn't. I think they'll steal a division game that no one expects them to. They'll have rough patches, but my feeling is that they will be a fun team to watch. It will also be fun to watch a mobile quarterback. I mean,
right,
I don't know.
agree.
You watch all these teams with guys running around, and like the Jets can never stop a mobile quarterback. And there's going to be weeks where Fields is just going to rip off like a 37-yard run. You're going to be like, oh my God, like I can't believe a Jets quarterback just did that. We just never have had that really. Can't count Vic for what we had him. So that's where my head goes. It's my long-winded answer.
I'm with you. It's that you want Glenn to have success, I think, more than a neutral hire. And what I mean by that is, when these last couple, well, Gase, we didn't react so well to, but it's easier to go through Bowles or Saleh, where you didn't have a history, any positive memories with those guys as Jets, but you dug into their background. They seemed like, good, hardworking guys, and you wanted them to do well because you want the Jets to do well. With Glenn, there's more at stake, right? You don't want Glenn to go out sad because of, when you think of Aaron Glenn, you think of positive Jets memories.
Yep.
So it means a little more here now that his legacy is, there's no way his legacy could be ruined as a Jet, because that's not fair. You can separate what he does, what he did as a player, and what he will do as a coach. But you do care a little bit more. And I think that something odd that I'm looking forward to, and this might sound not loserish, but I'm fascinated by how, sports fans are in this era where you have Twitter, you have nonstop coverage and takes and discussions. And I think it's all great. It's obviously been really fruitful to you and I specifically that we get to do this. But expectations to me are just, it's wild what expectations do to a season from your morale and excitement or perspective. And what I mean by that is, think of the most recent example. The Mets and the Yankees both just got swept this weekend. The Yankees got swept by the Red Sox. The Mets got swept by the Rays. And the Mets and the Yankees are two of the best teams in all baseball right now. There is a real world where they can meet in the Subway Series for a World Series. Like, that's how good both teams have been this year. But the expectations coming into the year, besides the Dodgers being in the way, is that the Mets and the Yankees should be two of the best teams in baseball. So when they get swept, even though they've dominated all year, it feels like a gut punch. And you have to step back and be like, this is a long season. There's 162 games. This is going to happen naturally. And if they didn't come into the season with those expectations, you wouldn't feel like that at all. You'd just be happy that they're both in first place. This happened with the Rangers this year. The Rangers won the President's Trophy 2 years ago, where expectations weren't as high. They had a phenomenal season and took Florida right down. They were 2 wins away from going to the Cup. And then last year, they don't even make the playoffs. And because of the expectations from the previous season, it was miserable to watch. The Mets, though, before this year, they had a horrible start. The expectations weren't that crazy, and they ended up being 2 wins away from making it to the World Series. It was one of the most fun seasons you could ever have as a Met fan. The Jets last year, the expectations at a minimum were to make the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers. There was a lot of Super Bowl talk around the Jets, and they stunk. And not only did they stink, they were a group of mercenaries that weren't very fun to watch, like you just said. That's what it all comes back to, your point, Joe. Not only are expectations lower for the Jets this year because they don't have these high-profile mercenary kind of players, but they're actually trying to build something. And I think there's an understanding from a lot of the fans that they're projected, they're over under 6.5 wins, okay? Like you're saying, if they're a 7 or 8 win team, that could still be fun. That could be a lot of fun. What if the Jets win 3 of their last 4 games? What are we talking about all offseason? We're talking about the last 4 games and everything that they showed in those last 4 games, and seeing some of the young guys actually smiling and having fun and being part of a scheme that they believe in and trusting the coaches. And so I think expectations really kind of warp and shape your viewpoint and your morale as a fan in this era more than ever. And I think the Jets not having all these cameras on them and these expectations on them, hopefully will actually allow this regime to build a football program that we can enjoy.
I think so. I hope so. That's what we're going to be.
Yeah, all you could do is hope right now. Yeah.
We'll see. And I think it's okay to go into this season with the tempered expectations, but excitement around everything that you just outlined. And, you know, we got 6 weeks to turn it over in our head, and then we get into training camp, and it'll be here before you know it. And I'm glad they're opening up at home, and I'm so glad they're opening up at 1 o'clock. And I'm so glad so many of the games are at 1 o'clock this year.
You and me both.
It's the best. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you're not subscribed to War Room yet, go do it, because you get another long video from us. You get some more film room content from CR. He's working on the Holy Trinity to give Tanner Strand right now. Live show tickets still cranking at badlandstoj.com. 3-hour open bar at Stout Grand Central, August 23rd, day after the last preseason game. Our season kickoff starts then. We'll have plenty of more announcements coming around that soon. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll talk to you soon.